I honestly love the solo floor 6 vibes. It is so nice. It's just fun. I don't know what it is about it. It's just fun. Anyway, I need to just accept the party. Oh, no way. Also, boys, the reason why I just went away from the mic for a bit, is because I got my server laptop running now. So I have my old, not on my main computer. It's actually on a laptop that's like sitting next to me by like a meter. So now let me actually show you. This is really cool. So for those of you that don't already know, I use Voidling minions and I need to have AFK for this farm to be as efficient as possible. And I just got my boy Thorned in an AFK pool. And I used to run this on my PC. And now I run it on like a separate laptop that's like a meter away from me to my left, which is pretty neat. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So anyway, let's get these runs started. Let's do some solo floor 6. Just, you know, a couple of chill runs, nothing too sweaty. I saw there's a new cheese for trap apparently. For the trap that everyone cheeses with like the tombs, the tomb here and the tomb here. Apparently you can't do this anymore. But you can. Yeah, apparently you can't like you can't make ghost blocks or something. More than 2 ghost blocks in a row. But I don't think it's too big of an issue, especially because I have dreadful ping. So I could probably do it anyways. But there's a new way of doing it, being able to stonk like the lever weirdly and stuff. No. And some weird stuff. We still fly through it, like look at me, bro. AU ping, guys, AU ping, no way. Flying through trap, getting the bat, I'm cracked. Look at me go. Oh my god, so talented. I'm really good at this game. Bro, look at the speed on that, dude. People use Spirit Boots, but man, I just love Tara Boots more. Tara is so much nicer for trap room. People are so focused on grinding dungeons, and some people like farming, and even some people like foraging, even though it makes like no money. You should never worry about money, bro. Honestly, I don't understand why people are so, like, I don't know, focused on earning coins. Because it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, right? Like, coins will come while you play, just from playing the game. Coins will appear in your purse just from playing the game. That's just what I do. For example, like, obviously I dropped a handle recently. That's a huge sum of coins that just in my purse immediately. But I didn't get any drops for a long time, and I went a while with no great drops. But my point is like, if you like farming, you will get coins one way or another. If you like foraging, sure, it's not effective, but you will get coins one way or another. Earning coins isn't everything in this game either. There's always skills, there's always grinding other things, whatever you prefer. Yeah, another thing that I also really don't understand, and this is something that I've covered in my next video, and I cover it in more detail, but I'll go over it briefly right now, are carries. I want to know what you guys think about carries before I get my opinions out. So I'm gonna let you guys discuss a little bit. I'll wait for the stream delay and whatnot. And I'll see what you guys think about carries, and I'll give you guys my input on how I feel about dungeon carries. Carries are okay, made 1.5. I mean getting them, not being the one doing the carries. I mean being the person paying for the carries. What are your thoughts on that? It's awesome. You like carries? What the hell? Bugged chunk? Nice. Carries are not worth it. Taking a carry is for desperate people. Yeah. Alright. I'll talk about something that I have thought strongly for a while. And it's like it's like the answer to everybody's common question of, oh, I have 3/4 Shadow Assassin, but I can only do floor 2, right? If you get like 1 full 7 carry, just use Necron or something, it's okay. But if you get like cat of 30 through carries, it's not okay. I think carries are never worth it. Not once should you ever need to buy a carry. If you need to buy a carry or you need to use a carry, you're playing the game wrong. It's as simple as that, right? It is as simple as that. Now, let me explain, right? Let me explain why you should never get carries. Obviously, the game was intended to be played a certain way, right? So, if I bring this back to way back when Dungeons was first released, when we had Floor 1, and Bonzo was the final boss, I guess, because that's just how it was, right? We only had Floor 1 at the time. Floor 7 wasn't even planned out yet at that stage. People obviously did Floor 1 with Out of Dungeons gear. They used superior sets, they used 50 mil Midases, AOTDs, whatever. And then when people actually dropped gear from floor 1, people started running floor 1 with floor 1 gear, right? Moves on to floor 2. Floor 2 comes out, people didn't get carried to floor 2 to use floor 2 gear to complete floor 2, right? They used the Bonzo staff from floor 1 as a mage. They used other things that you could have dropped from floor 1, I guess some of the dungeon gear, if any of that was actually good, because at the time, superior and stuff was still stronger if you used undungeonized superior. But my point is nobody got carried to floor 2 originally, right? Progress through floor 3, floor 4, yeah, I know they released at the same time. Yeah, sorry. Floor 1, floor 2 was the same time, and then a week later, floor 3 came out, or something like that. Floor 3 was delayed slightly, the event. It wasn't all at the same time. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, right, is one way or another, somebody had to do every floor that came out by themselves, right? Somebody had to do floor 5 with floor 4 gear. Somebody had to do floor 6 with floor 5 gear. Somebody had to do floor 7 with floor 6 gear, right? There were people who physically couldn't have been carried to use the new dungeon gear, right? Like, that's just how it was, because no one had done those floors before. Nobody had that gear yet. Nobody was at that stage. You had to do it with what you already had. So why would you need to get carried as a newer player to say you get one floor 7 carry so you can use Necron armor to beat floor 7? It doesn't make sense. I did floor 7 in full Shadow Assassin, fragged Shadow Assassin, and 4 bones, right? Those are both items from floor 4 and floor 5, you know? They're not any carry gear. Also, I really need to focus here. I'm actually struggling. Okay, I'm actually gonna fucking die. Anyway, anyway. I got distracted. My point is that you should be able to do every dungeon with the gear from that floor, or the floor above it, or even 2-3 floors above it, right? Carries shouldn't really be a part of the game. It ruins progression. It ruins progression, right? The problem with carries is that it creates players that have insane gear when they shouldn't have good gear, right? It creates the guy that has 1 floor 3, 4, and 5 completion, the guy that has a livid 3/4 Shadow Assassin, a Zombie Knight chestplate, but is skill average 14 and like Catacombs 9, right? And the issue with that is you now have spent like 12 mil, I did the calculations, it's about 12 mil to get all of that stuff, and you can't even use it properly, and you're still gonna be stuck on like floor 1, because that gear is useless until you were actually meant to have that gear, right? You can't do floor 5 as a Cata 9, exactly. So why would you be using the gear from floor 5, right? Why wouldn't you reinvest all the money that you spent on the carries, on the money that you spent on the armor, on the money that you spent on the livid, on the money that you spent on a Flower of Truth? Why wouldn't you take that 12 million and buy a tree cap for like a mil? Buy a decent fishing setup for like 300k. They're so cheap, right? Level up some skills, level up some of your other things, and then now that you have a decent skill average, now that you have some pretty solid stats, maybe you have some unstable armor, maybe you went for strong, depending on what you want to play, maybe you got an AOTD as well. Now that you have a more well-rounded profile, should you be doing dungeons and going through all the floors the natural way? Because getting carried doesn't help you at all. It doesn't help you at all. Like, I don't understand what the point of getting carried to floor 5 is if you can't even do floor 5 after the carries. All you're doing is unlocking requirements early when you don't need them, because you don't need Shadow Assassin to do tier 3 Sven bosses. You don't need Shadow Assassin to do Tarantula Slayer either. You can do that perfectly fine with unstable armor. You can do it perfectly fine with Strong Dragon. You just have to have decent skills and decent talismans, right? And if you reinvest the money that you would have spent on a Livid or Shadow Assassin or all the dungeon stuff, you can spend that money on talismans. You can spend that money on the Slayer bosses, right? And you will progress quicker as well. You'll progress quicker and you'll progress the right way. And then you don't get a bunch of people saying, why do I only deal 30k damage with my Livid Dagger? Because people don't understand that carries actually hurt progression so much more, in my opinion. There are very, very, very few situations where carries make sense. I have actually had one carry before. I've talked about it before. I have been carried through floor 7 once, and the only reason that I got a floor 7 carry was because this was when the Hyperion was still like super hyped up and stuff, and everyone was talking about it, and I really wanted to get a video on it, and my friend had a Hyperion that I could use, but I needed the requirements to use it, right? And at the time, I was still running for my bone meringues. I had about 2 or 3 at the time, so I couldn't do floor 7 yet. But I had everything else. I had my Shadow Assassin, I had an Ice Spray and all that stuff. So I was really close to being able to run on my own. But I got carried just for the completion to do a video, by the way. It was just for a video. If I didn't have to do that video, I wouldn't have gotten carried. Because I only did floor 7 when I had my gear to actually run it properly. And I did it all with floor 4 and floor 5 gear. Completely fine. That was just because my kata level was high enough. My skills were high enough, and all my other gear was good enough. There's so many 3/4 Shadow Assassin nons doing 200k with a juju in your floor 7 parties. Exactly. Because they spend all their money on their gear, and the rest of their profile is just straight trash. The rest of their profile is horrible. One thing that people forget is that your catacomb skill takes part of your other skills as well. It is amplified by your base stats. Let me just read out what it does. Increasing the stats of your dungeon items by 245% while in the catacombs, right? It also increases the stats of everything while in catacombs. Your HP and your defense and the pets and stuff are stronger. Obviously, the dungeon gear is stronger. That's what it does. But your base stats are affected as well. Having a decent fishing and farming level to have more HP is important. Having your fairy souls is important. Having your cake bag with New Year cakes inside of it is important as well. There's so many really small little things that people who've been playing the game for a while don't have to worry about. Like, I have a full cake bag, for example. I don't know why I'm bringing up a cake bag. It's just one of the first things I thought of. But this thing here, if I just open mine, I have it filled, and each cake I think is 1 HP, right? It says, yeah, +1 health. I have 54 health just sitting in 1 talisman, for example. And obviously my fishing and farming level contributes to my HP, and my other gear contributes to my HP. So my EHP is boosted by all these little things, right? So my point is that carries hurt people more than they help them, in my opinion. You should never be getting carries, by the way. Play the game the way it was supposed to be played, and you'll be so much better off. Like, what does this button do? If I do this... Does this do anything? Oh my god, guys. What's going on? No way. You wanna hear my keyboard? I went... I woke up all the lagers.